Hi guys, welcome back to Fit Education's virtual classroom today. Today's microteach session, we are going to look at all of the various joint actions possible in all of the major joints across the human body. As ever, if you find value in any of our content, we'd appreciate if you could like, comment and share and help us spread the word of what we do. So let's have a look at the various joint actions available. Muscles pull on bones to create different joint movements depending on the type of the joint. We'll now look at the specific terminologies used for describing the major joint actions possible at the shoulder, which is a ball and socket joint, the shoulder girdle, which is a gliding or a plane joint, the spine, which has various facet joints at different locations, the elbow joint, which is a hinge joint, the hip joint, which is a ball and socket joint, and finally we'll look at the knee and the ankle joints, which are both hinge joints. The shoulder joint is a ball and socket joint, and it has 8 different joint actions possible. These include shoulder flexion, where the angle of the shoulder decreases and the arm raises towards the sky. Shoulder extension, where the angle of the shoulder increases and the arm lowers towards the ground. Shoulder abduction, this is the moving of the arm laterally away from the midline of the body. Shoulder adduction, this is moving the arm medially towards the midline of the body. Shoulder horizontal extension, this is moving the arm away from the midline of the body in the horizontal plane. Shoulder horizontal flexion, this is the moving of the arm towards the midline of the body in the horizontal plane. Shoulder external rotation is the moving of the arm away from the midline of the body on its long axis. And shoulder internal rotation is the moving of the arm towards the midline of the body on its long axis. There is one additional joint action available at the shoulder joint. This is circumduction. This is the circular shape movement when your arm rotates like a clock dial. The shoulder girdle is a different joint to the shoulder joint, and it is a gliding or a plane joint, and it has 4 possible joint actions, including elevation, which is the upward movement of the shoulder girdle towards the sky, depression, which is the downward movement of the shoulder girdle towards the ground, protraction, which is the forward movement of the shoulder girdle, and retraction, which is the backward movement of the shoulder girdle. The lumbar and thoracic spine are facet joints, where there are 4 different joint actions possible, including spinal flexion, where the angle of the joint decreases and the spine leans forward. Spinal extension, where the angle of the joint increases and the spine leans backwards. Lateral spinal flexion, which is bending to the side. And spinal rotation, which is the rotating on its long axis or twisting to the side. The elbow joint is a hinge joint, and there's 2 different actions available. Elbow flexion, where the angle of the joint decreases or the arm bends. Elbow extension, where the angle of the joint increases or the arm straightens. There's 2 other joint actions possible at the ulnar radial joint, which is a pivot joint. These include pronation, which is the rotation of the palm of the hand to face downwards towards the ground, and supination, which is the rotation of the palm of the hand to face upwards towards the sky. Like the shoulder joint, the hip joint is a ball and socket joint, and there are 6 different joint actions possible. These include hip flexion, where the angle of the joint decreases or the hip and the leg get closer together. Hip extension, this is where the angle of the joint increases or the hip and the leg get further apart. Hip abduction is moving the leg away from the midline, and hip adduction is moving the legs towards the midline. Hip internal rotation is the moving of the leg towards the midline on its axis, and hip external rotation is moving the leg away from the midline on its axis. The knee joint is a hinge joint like the elbow joint, and the joint actions available at the knee joint include knee flexion, where the angle of the joint is decreasing or the leg is bending, and knee extension, where the angle of the joint is increasing or the leg is straightening. The ankle joint is also a hinge joint like the knee joint. The joint actions available at the ankle joint include inversion, where the sole of the foot faces medially or inwards, eversion, where the sole of the foot faces laterally or outwards, plantar flexion, where the toes point downwards towards the ground, and dorsiflexion, where the toes point upwards towards the sky. We hope that you enjoyed today's content. If you have any questions on what was covered, please leave us a comment below. Or if you'd like to support us in what we do, if you could give us a like, a comment, or share, we'd appreciate your support.